Testing, testing, 1, 2. You got me there? All right. All right, folks. Now that I'm done blabbing my jaw over there about his backpack, we can almost get started here. So I'm going to warn you all right now. This is the very first time I have done this presentation, and it has every opportunity to go off the rails badly. We're all along on this ride, so I would appreciate obligatory laughs, even if it's not funny, and then you can tell me later, that was really stupid. Okay, but what's that? Man, I don't need help getting it off the rails, I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm kind of one of those squirrel over here guys. So this does have the most slides I've ever done in a presentation, but I'm hoping we can shoot through it, and I'm hoping we'll have a little bit of fun with it. So really what we're going to be talking about here, and it's kind of cool because I've heard this theme a couple of times today and I love it, is we're going to be talking about, you know, ransomware, phishing, those sorts of things. We have a hole in our boat, and I'm going to be playing a little bit of fun off the Gilligan theme here, right? But we keep ignoring this problem that we have. So we're going to talk about this a little bit. First of all, a little bit about me. I'm old. I've been in IT and security since like the mid-1990s. Do we have any CISSPs in here? All right. This could be painful. Do you guys remember the email that went out that said you now have 40 minimum CPEs per year? If you look at the signature block, that was my name at the bottom of that. All right. I was the Director of Member Relations and Services at ISC Squared for a couple of years. Worked with the DoD for about 10 years with the 2nd Regional Cyber Center Western Hemisphere, which is a terrible name to have in a DoD organization because we had to answer the phone like that every time. We did not have an acronym. But basically, I've been around for quite a while. Yay. We're all happy with that. About us. So I'm with KnowBe4. We actually got the mention here just previously about that. But basically, we do a security awareness training simulated phishing platform. The reason this matters is we see and hear about a lot of these attacks all the time. We're constantly hearing about what's going on in the phishing world, and so we're leveraging some of that fun stuff to do that. Fun note, anyone here know of a guy named Kevin Mitnick? Anyone hear that name? Right. He's our partner, right? He's a co-owner, partner of our organization. So we have a lot of fun when he's around. So getting started, let's look at the numbers around phishing, because this is kind of eye-opening for folks a lot of times. They don't realize how bad it is. We saw 90% of phishing attacks, or 90% of breaches, or whatever he said, started with this phishing attack. We're very similar. 91% of successful data breaches start with a spear phishing attack. This is how the bad guys are getting into the systems a good chunk of the time these days. If you ever do red teaming, you're going to realize that yes, you know, you try to beat away at the technical controls of perimeters all day long. All you got to do is target the person, and it's easy in, right? Ransomware, they're now saying, is going to be $11.5 billion in losses next year. It's continuing to grow, and I'll talk a little bit about that. CEO fraud, everyone's familiar with that. That's where someone pretends to be someone in leadership, your CEO, president of your company, sends an email, it's really stupid, says, wire a bunch of money off to this place. People fall for that constantly. We're talking $9 billion in damages is what they're expecting this year.
Globally, domestically?
That's globally. Yeah. We're also seeing, like, right now it's going to start tapering off, but the W-2 scams, where somebody's getting tax information out, that's been going on pretty significantly. There were about 204,000 people impacted by that last year. They end up with your W-2s, they file the taxes on your behalf, they get your refund, you spend about a year trying to fix it. It's pretty nasty stuff. Then what they do is they turn around, they sell that information on the dark web, because it's got your social, it's got your income, it's got all kinds of great information on there where they can open accounts in your name fraudulently and do all kinds of fun stuff. So, pretty ugly stuff that's going on with phishing. Now, this is a kind of interesting stat. We found that about 55% of the people will click on the phishing links in our platform within 60 minutes of receiving the email. That means it's hit their inbox, they've read it, they've been interested in it, they've opened it, and they've clicked that link within 60 minutes. If we could get people to click on the emails that mattered in our organizations in the first hour after it hit their inboxes, we could change the world, right? Our organizations would be so much more efficient. But because these guys know how to write very enticing emails, make people do things, they're getting great reactions out of this. Most of these things that we send out here are based on actual phishing attacks. We take them, defang them, and let you send them to your users, right? So this is very, very similar to what's happening in the real world, right? People can't wait to click on these. So this is where we start to have a little fun. I want to talk about some of the players in the game, right? This is going to up your Gilligan's Island trivia by about 300%. I guarantee it, because I learned a hell of a lot just putting these things together. Some pretty interesting stuff here, right? So some of the players, you know, you got the skipper there, right? He's ultimately the person in charge, responsible for the castaways. He's usually pretty level-headed, actually, considering what's going on, right? He has some brains, but his efforts are often foiled by others, which makes me feel like he's a CIO or CISO sort of role, right? He's always trying to do good, but everyone else is screwing him up, right? You got the howls. Somewhat clueless, used to a certain lifestyle, demand respect, rarely adds anything of value, doesn't take responsibility for anything. That's our executive suite. We are recording this, right, Adrian? Oh, Lord help me. We got Marianne, right? She's intelligent, she's kind, she's always willing to help. Real team player, if there ever was one. She's got an optimistic outlook on life. We're talking about the unicorn here. This is like the perfect user in your organization, right? On the flip side, you have Ginger, the spoiled star who likes to be pampered, loves attention, didn't care much about anything besides fame. This is more of your typical user, or maybe part of the marketing department, which I can say because I just got moved to PR. So, Professor, the professor, right? Roy Hinckley. This is kind of interesting. I didn't know all this. Had a PhD in psychology and was a botanist. Did you know that? Was a high school teacher writing a book titled Fun with Ferns. Ah, right? You're ready for your next trivia at the bar, right? Understood but overcomplicated a lot of projects. Master of coconut-based technology, right? Security engineer, kind of rings true to some of that, right? And then, of course, Gilligan. Did you know he's the only castaway that didn't have a full name? Okay? Pretty much single-handedly kept them from being rescued every single time. Messed up everything he touched. And actually, he's said to have saved the skipper's life while in the Navy during World War II. Something about a depth charge or something. There's an actual backstory to that. But he reminds me a lot of some of our junior security and analysts out there, guys. Okay, unfortunately, they tend to get in the way. But this cast, it's pretty interesting when you start putting this stuff together and start thinking about that. But then you tie it together with the problem, right? The problem is our boat. It has holes in it, okay? We take these solutions like Gilligan did. And this is where we're kind of messing up, I think. We're overcomplicating what we're doing a lot of times when it comes to our problem. Our problem is the boat. So we have a boat that has holes in it. So what do? We make a radio, right? That makes a lot of sense. We can make a sewing machine. I think this is just fantastic. Some of the ideas they came up with this were just awesome, right? Again, the professor, master of coconut tech. They built a Geiger counter. Okay? Jetpack fuel, where he's working with an open flame here. I'm just thinking that's going to go well, right? The problem is, again, we're doing all of these very technical things for a problem that we should be fixing the hole in the boat. So we keep deploying these new solutions. We keep deploying this new technology. This new technology is expensive. It's difficult. It's complicated. It's bleeding edge. It's cutting edge. But yet we're still seeing breaches over and over and over again, right? It ends up, this approach is just a shipment of fail. All right? So what we need to do really is we need to think about fixing the problem and fixing the holes in the boat. Now I apologize. This is the worst chunks of wood I could find to put over this, right? I'm not a graphics guy. Mostly I deal in paint. Okay, but you get the idea. We need to start focusing on fixing the holes in the boat. Our boat has holes in it. So some of the holes that I want to talk about, how many of you guys have heard of this? Just happened the other day. City of Atlanta, right? Ransomware attack. Heard Atlanta pretty good. Ransom demand, $51,000 for everything. It was $6,800 per machine if they wanted to go that route. The outages included customer-facing applications, online bill pay, court-related information access, etc. Interesting piece on this that has me, I'm still a little bit concerned about this one. I don't think it's all fleshed out yet because the mayor is telling people to check their bank accounts, make sure that that's good. How many of you have seen a ransomware attack that involves, as a countermeasure, checking your bank accounts? Okay, something seems a little fishy here, or they're grossly misinformed about what this kind of attack means. I'll warn you, if you have leadership and you ever have to have a press conference, make sure they know what they're talking about. Otherwise, it sounds quite stupid. It turns out this was a variant of SamSam again. Okay, there are two major ways that ransomware is getting distributed out there these days. The number one way is phishing. The number two way is RDP facing the internet. If you have RDP, internet facing, in your organization right now, as soon as I'm done talking and you congratulate me and shower me with praise, call somebody and have them shut that down. I mean that sincerely. I mean, SamSam, these attacks that are based on SamSam are hitting people over and over again, and they're driving right through that. VPN in before you RDP. Don't ever let 3389 face the internet. And if you're really crafty and change it to 3390, they can still find it, folks. People think that that's the cure, but it's not. So, City of Atlanta got hit. We've seen Cockrell Hill Police Department get hit. Osiris variant of Locky ransomware. They lost 8 years of police department evidence. So the good news was they said it didn't impact a lot of active cases. It was mostly the older cases, and they had it all on paper. Translation. Some poor intern is going to spend his entire internship feeding paper into a scanner as they redigitize this stuff, right? This was caused by a phishing email. They open a phishing email. It happens in all sorts of different sizes of organizations. Licking County, Ohio, the whole county. Over 1,000 machines taken down, including the 911 call center computers, right? They were logging 911 calls manually. And I don't know about you, if I call 911, I don't really want them going, hey, hold on, I need to find my pen. That just doesn't give me warm and fuzzies, right? We're starting to impact, in cases like this, life and safety pretty significantly, over and over again. Now this one, I love this. I had to add this other slide to this because it's beautiful. The county auditor said, apparently our clock still works. So out of the whole county, pretty much their clock is the only thing that still worked, right? And I love this because, and I put this together all myself, okay? This is Licking County, the clock still works, so the clock took a licking and kept on ticking. I'll be here for the remainder of the day, folks. Come on, tip your wait staff, all right? All right, got some chuckles out of that one. That's good. I'll note that was a success. So this is going to get worse before it gets better. And I say that because of ransomware as a service. Has anyone heard of this before? Ransomware as a service? Okay. I'm starting to see more and more people be aware of this. This is really scary to me. All right. In the past, when you do ransomware, you actually had to be fairly technical. There's command and control stuff that happens up here, right? Things are moving around. You got droppers. They're pulling down things. And it's not just ransomware anymore these days. Most of the time, or a lot of the time when you get infected, it's actually pulling down things like crypto miners, banking charges, whatever. They're just trying to splatter crap all over the place. But you had to be pretty technical to build out that infrastructure. There's command and control channels. There's exchanges of keys. There's all this kind of stuff that goes on. But the bad guys have gotten pretty smart. So they treat this as a business. Most of this is a business. A lot of it's from Eastern European countries where it's not illegal. They have office buildings. They go in, they do their thing during the day, and they sit around at lunch at the water cooler and talk about Game of Thrones or whatever it is they're doing over there, right? These are real businesses over there. And they're making a lot of money doing it. It's not the kid in the basement eating pizza, drinking Mountain Dew in most of these cases. But because they've refined how they've done this, now they decided to jump on this as a service bandwagon, right? So we got infrastructure as a service, we got software as a service. Why not do ransomware as a service? The thing about this is it lowers the barrier for those people that are just typically good con artists, social engineers, scammers that may not have all of that background, that don't have all of that technical ability, and it's letting them play this game. So to give you an idea, I mean, a couple of examples on here. On YouTube, there's a marketing video for Philadelphia. It's completely customizable, top to bottom. You can change the everything from the ransom amount to the time it takes between the Russian roulette, which is basically where it goes through and randomly deletes files to make you nervous to have to go pay faster. You can change everything in this thing, right? Currently, when I last looked, it was about $385 for a lifetime license to this. They handle all of the back-end infrastructure. They handle dealing with the money, splitting the money out, handling all that stuff through the Bitcoin payments. The whole 9 yards is covered by them. You're $385 for a lifetime license. We're also seeing some things happen now, though, where they're playing a new game, which is the affiliate split. So DOT is a version of ransomware. Same thing. Basically, you run through a wizard and you set this stuff up. You tell it how much you want it to be and all that kind of good stuff. Build the executable, send it out. It costs you $0 to buy into it. It's a 50-50 profit sharing. Now, DOT is pretty interesting because they also offer you a lot of coaching. How much to charge for ransoms in certain areas. What type of phishing emails work in certain areas because they want you to be successful. They're getting half of your take. So they actually coach people and give them resources to learn how to make their attacks more successful. Okay. The other ones up here, Saturn is pretty recent one, but Cerber, there's a Cerber version that's a RAS version as well. They're doing a 70-30 affiliate split. So that means the person sending the email is making 70% of the money, and the developer's making 30. Okay. But it takes all the workload off the developers, guys, and really puts it on now these con artists, these scammers, these people that are getting into this, that are seeing all this money on there. And so the distribution is going to be going up. And personally, I think in many cases, the quality of the phishing attacks and the attacks in general are also going to be moving that way as this continues on. So this is something we really have to think about when it comes to the ransomware and where we're going with this in the near future, because quite frankly, it's going to get worse before it gets any better. So we got to ask ourselves, what's our boat look like? Does it look like this? And I'm actually going on a cruise in about a month or so. It's going to be awesome. I'm hoping it's not more like this, right? Odds are we're probably somewhere in between those in our real life, right? But our boat definitely has some holes in it. All of us do, right? So what do we do about this? Well, layers. Layers are great things. When we're dealing with this, we have to think about it from the levels of risk. There is no solution. There won't be a solution. What we're going to try to do is reduce the risk at different layers. And some of the ways you can do it at the email layer, good spam filters, right? There's actually a great infographic that Canada put out a few years ago. It's kind of eye-opening. And what it does is it takes out basically the bulk of emails that go out every day, and it starts breaking it down, right? And it's got a pirate theme, which I love. Anyways, basically it shows that, 10% gets eliminated here, 10% gets eliminated there, and it's going down, and then 10% of those the people end up clicking, et cetera, et cetera. But it really lays out the fact that, thousands of people every day are clicking on phishing links, starting off with like 80 million that go out every day. It's an incredible number. Spam filters will help you in a lot of this. They're going to grab those big bulk things that go out there along with the spam, and they're going to hopefully stop some of that. Once it's been reported, once they're able to spot it, they'll be able to block some of that. And that's going to lower the tidal wave that's going to land in your users' inboxes. So if you can reduce the number of potentially malicious emails by 10% or 20%, whatever's going in the user's boxes, you're ahead of the game right there. The other thing is SPF records, DMARC and DKIM technologies. Is anyone familiar with those sorts of things, right? Sender policy framework. Basically what you're doing is you're listing out a number of servers that are authorized within your domain to be able to send emails as certain people. So what this does is it really drops the spoofing. The people pretending to be your executives, the people pretending to be your leadership that are sending emails inside where it looks like it came from the boss, and so people want to wire out the money. It eliminates those different levels through some different things. Think about implementing some of these things on your email side to reduce some of that. DLP is also great. So if they do get in, how much stuff can they roll out? Because data exfiltration is just as important as anything else. We've seen instances where people have been hit with ransomware, and at the same time, they're exfiltrating data out. Remember, these guys have the keys to unlock it. So, haven't seen that super widespread, but it's important to know what's actually rolling out of there too, right? So DLP is a good thing to have in there when it comes to what's happening with that. Block your zip JavaScript. If you haven't done this already, please, you really need to be doing this. Very rarely does anyone need to get an exe file. Okay? And if you're going to send a zip file, I'll be honest, there's times when I need to get a zip file, or it's very handy to get a zip file, but I'm going to need to jump through some steps. I have to be conscious about what I'm doing when I get that zip file. It's not just an unconscious click on it and it goes, right? That's much better than just having an auto launch. Mark external emails in the subject line. That's also very powerful when it gets the spoofing and the scams. Okay, there's a lot of good products out there that will rewrite in the subject line external email, or it'll put something in the email body and it says, "Be careful. This came from outside your organization." So you get something from your CEO that says this is an external email. You may want to be thinking about that a little bit, right? Somebody's playing those games. So on the email side, this is some great ways to reduce the risk. On the system side, make patching a priority. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's tired of hearing you should be patching, right? Is anyone here not tired of hearing you should be patching? All right, I get that. However, what I've seen happen far too often, and I may have been guilty of it myself, is we have that one or two machines on the network that has to be XP. In medical, it's a you have this MRI machine that does magnificent imaging, and it runs on XP, and the company that made it has been acquired 17 times in the last 6 months, because that's how it happens in healthcare. There is no chance that that thing's ever coming off of XP, right? But you can't just leave it at that. And you can't just go, oh, that's that machine, I'm not going to bother patching it, right? You don't just put it off on the side burner, exclude it from your patching pushes, and never think about it. What we need to do is we need to take those sorts of things, and we need to think about mitigations when it comes out. We actually need to pay a little bit more attention to those machines. So, for example, we know that WannaCry was an SMB v1. So does this machine really need that enabled? Maybe if we can't patch it, maybe we at least need to disable it on these machines. Or if you can't disable it, limit who it can talk to across those vulnerable protocols. Really lock that thing down. So rather than just saying we need to patch machines, we need to take it a little bit further. We need to think about those we can't patch and not just exclude them. Again, I can't say this enough. Shut down internet-facing RDP. It is not secure. It has never been secure. It's even worse than it ever has been now. Segmenting your systems on your network. Again, let's use WannaCry as an example. When it hit NHS, who here doesn't think that was a very flat network? That it just kind of stomped across all over the damn place? Had they had their network segmented, odds are that would have been contained in a much smaller area. The problem is, a lot of organizations these days, especially I would say in the medium-sized businesses where they've grown, especially if they've grown considerably, they've started off with a flat network and they've never gone back and fixed that piece of it, right? They've never gone through the trouble of segmenting things. But the fact is, you should never be in an environment where your receptionist can get to a login screen on a SQL server in production, okay? But too many organizations, that's what happens. Flat networks are evil things. So, VLAN them, or even just do it with IP subnets and routing. Whatever you've got to do to kind of try to limit some of that stuff and how things get to each other, do it. File integrity monitoring, that's a fun one. You can build some canaries, if you will, if you've ever heard of canary files, things like that, where you're looking for files that nobody really should have access to, and if they get changed or they get hit, you need to have that alerting you. It's not a horrible thing to do, like it's not horribly technically difficult, but it can be a very, very nice indicator that something's going wrong, okay? Honeypots, again. Has anyone here worked with honeypots? They're fun. It's kind of geeky. I love it. I've used MHN, Modern Honey Network. You can build that out. It pushes out Kippo boxes, does some things out there. Pretty fun stuff, and you can get some good alerts from it. You can start seeing what's kind of happening there and look at attacks, and it's not hard to deploy. It's also free. MHN is free. So some pretty cool stuff there. Consider using those if you're in a situation that you're large enough for that. If you start seeing a bunch of pings on a machine that nobody has any business going to in your organization, there may be an automated scan going on. Shocker, right? Good idea to get to some spots there. And have good endpoint protection with some sort of advanced behavior analysis. The days of just having signature-based antivirus, I'm not going to say antivirus is dead, but I will say that signature-based antivirus needs to go away. We can't update it fast enough to keep it up to, the speeds where it's seeing the changes, what's going on. So you need something that's looking at behavior analysis. Hey, look, the receptionist is all of a sudden encrypting 200 files per minute. Maybe there's a problem here. We need to have that in there. Again, these are all layers when it comes to this. It's not going to stop everything. Nothing is going to stop everything. But you need to contain it. You need to reduce the risk in reasonable ways. And this is my favorite. The human one. Far too often, we have not given this the attention it deserves. I was mentioning this earlier. It used to be, when you got a virus in your organization, it was an annoyance. We wipe the box, and we start over, right? It was like, oh, that was a pain in the butt, Zeus banking Trojans or whatever kind of crap is on these boxes, right? You blow them away, you reload, you move on. Costs you a few hours. It's annoying. However, what's been happening based on these phishing attacks these days and what's going on with that has really changed. We're seeing industries and businesses severely impacted by this, through ransomware, through the fraud, through all these other sorts of things. Businesses, this is no longer just an annoyance, okay? You get hit with something that's, a worm-type virus, you're in trouble if ransomware is hitting this stuff these days, okay? So we've got to give it the attention it deserves. That is not compliance. That is not checking the box saying, I sat my users down, I threw up a bunch of slides like this for an hour, and expect them to be secure for the next year. That is not going to help you, folks. We got to do more. I can't say that enough. We know that social engineering and phishing have been going on for 20 years. Chris talked about it earlier. Two things we've been fighting with, honestly, for years is passwords and phishing. These are two things that have been hanging on forever. Who remembers, the Melissa and I love you stuff back in the day, right? Again, annoyances. They really were annoyances at that point. They flood your email server and all that kind of crap, but they didn't take down your business necessarily. What's happening now is very different than that. But we continue to focus on these technical solutions instead of the base problem. And the problem is we keep throwing this technology at things, and it hasn't worked for the last 20 years. It's not going to start working now, folks. That's something we have to realize. It's just not going to. The other thing that happens when you keep throwing technical solutions at things, it doesn't only cost what the technical solution costs, it takes a hell of a lot of manpower to run some of this stuff. And the more advanced the solution is, the more bleeding edge it is, the more advanced the person is, or persons are, that have to run this, i.e. the more expensive they are. Okay? We can't keep relying on the technical stuff. Now, one of the side things that we have to deal with is, a lot of us technical folks, we don't really feel comfortable working on people's solutions, people problems. We're in technology because we like a box that doesn't talk back. All right? Let's face it, most of us like that. We like our keyboards. We like to tell the machine to do this, and it's going to do it, or it was us typing something wrong that screwed up what it's doing. Okay? We live in that world. We don't feel comfortable with the HR touchy-feely stuff, right? How many here like to get somebody in and counsel them about something or talk to them about a hard problem? Nobody does. Okay? We are not that kind of people. And we need to understand that, and we need to be honest with ourselves about that. And that means we need to kind of step outside and Maybe ask for some help from other groups and other departments in dealing with this people problem, because it's a serious risk to our organizations. When it comes to arming the users for battle, which is really what we're talking about here, because every day they're being attacked, every day it's a battle, we need to arm them for it. What do? Well, our goal is to create reflexive behaviors. I love this slide. Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, right? It kind of goes along with a lot of my military training, DoD training, right? They teach you how to tear down a rifle about 247 times more than you need to, just to be able to learn how to do it, because when everything's going stupid around you, it needs to be reflexive. You can't stop and look at the brochure and go, oh, does that go in there and then that goes that way, right? They drill it into you. We need to take the same kind of approach with people when it comes to what's attacking them too, and build a reflexive behavior. What reflexive means is they don't have to stop and think about it. They get a phishing email in, they see it, they go, ooh, something's a little weird about this. They hit the report button or whatever your reporting mechanism is, and I hope you have a reporting mechanism, and it fires it off, it gets it out of their inbox, and they're done with it. Let somebody else work on that piece, somebody that's trained in that area. They don't have to be, super technical people. They don't have to be, you don't want them digging into headers and trying to figure out if that's really from where it says. That's our job. That's our technical people job, right? You want these people to quickly see it, deal with it, boom, it's done, and you've moved on. That's the goal that we want to get to with people, is building that reflexive behaviors. We're not always great at that, again, with the people side. So what do? I'm going to give you some best practices to embrace here, okay? Have explicit goals before starting. And we'll go through these one by one. Decide what behaviors you want to change, and just do a couple of those. Treat it like a marketing campaign. Fish frequently, and don't be a jerk. So one-on-one, let's start with these. Explicit goals. And I can't tell you how many times I see people that kind of fail at this when I'm talking to them. And what they do is their goals are like, we're going to make it better. Well, better is not measurable in any sort of real way, right? It's a very subjective thing. So we need to build goals when we do this. We need to be completely honest with ourselves. We need to build some goals around our organization and what our culture, our organizational culture, will handle. Now, the goals are something that you need to measure, right? I want to reduce malware tickets by 30% in 90 days. Hey, you may be pulling it right out of the air or wherever you're pulling things out of at first, okay? But you have to start with something and get it on there. And then you start measuring against that so you know where you're at and whether or not that's reasonable. Don't be afraid to put something down that you don't know if you're going to make. At least you have something, right? Quantitative goals versus qualitative are a huge difference when it comes to things like this. Tracking, reporting, and then reporting to your leadership too. It's a lot easier to be able to go back and talk about, hey, we reduced these tickets by this much, in the last this long, as opposed to, boss, we're doing better. All right? You can see the difference. When it comes to your organizational culture, though, and what your goals are going to do in this, it's important to understand what you can do. And when I say organizational culture, I mean this. If you're in an organization that was recently breached, you're probably going to be able to come in and make some big sweeping changes. If you're in an organization that doesn't really feel like they're a target, you're going to have to slow step it a little bit. You're going to have to do a little kid glove there. You may have to take a little bit of extra time to kind of tenderize everybody and get them used to thinking about this and concerned about this, right? So you got to be honest. Where are you with an organization? I see people come in, and I've been guilty of this myself. You come in an organization, you look around, and you go, dear God, this place is jacked up, and I'm going to fix it all right now. You can't do that, and that leads me into this one here. Decide some behaviors to change and work on it slowly. 12 to 18 months, maybe, maybe not, right? How do you figure out what it is you want to change? I love this magic wand experiment, right? The idea is, if I could wave a magic wand today and change everything, you can't. But if I could change, say, 3 things, what would those things be? And it's almost always password hygiene, quick clicking on stupid things, and then a lot of times it's something more company specific for number 3, Okay? So you pick those things, and that's where you decide you're going to work on these things over some time. Don't try to eat the elephant all at once, right? Little bit at a time, because if you try to concentrate on too many things at once, you're going to fail. You're going to get frustrated. People are going to be like, oh my gosh, all this crazy stuff's going on. You're not going to be able to maintain it. You're not going to be able to control it. You're not going to be able to measure it if you try to do too much at one time. If you try to do 20 or 30 things and then you're measuring what's going on, how do you know which part was really effective? Can't manage what you don't measure. So that's a very important part. Treat your program like a marketing campaign. When you're doing awareness training, when you're teaching users what to do and how to deal with things, all that kind of good stuff, you need to treat it like a marketing campaign. Sometimes that means getting marketing involved. We all hate marketing. But, you know, I'll tell you, things we don't think about necessarily all the times. When I go to do a tweet now, I swear, almost every time it pops into my head the saying, loose tweets sink fleets. And I know that because our marketing department has the poster up in our office that says that thing, right? It hit me. I didn't mean to. I was probably going to the restroom or something at the time, but it won't get out of my brain. I started thinking about these. Different things are going to resonate with different people, so they're thinking about it at different times. Your marketing department knows how to do that. They know about nudge theory. They know about trying to get people to do things without being blatant and in their face. An example of nudge theory is something like if you've ever typed your password into a thing and it goes red and it's like your password sucks. Or it's like, not really good, you know? And then you add a few characters and it turns yellow and it's like, ooh, that's better, right? And then it's green, hey, great password. That's a nudge theory. It's just gently pointing you in the right direction to do the right thing. These are people that are trained in those domains and know how to do it. Deploy them when you're doing these campaigns and your awareness training stuff, right? The other thing you want to do is make it relevant to them. So, I've actually heard this today too, and I love it. When you're teaching people how to be safe in your organization, you're also teaching them how to be safe at home. Which one do you think they care about? They care about whether or not you're treating them to be, or teaching them to be safe at home. They really do. So you have to remind them of that, because a lot of people will take the approach that, you know, if my company doesn't want me to click on this, they'll keep me from doing it. Or, you know, it's their job to keep this stuff out of here, the security people, not mine. But you start flipping that on them and you start telling them, hey, did you know about half of ransomware hits people at home? How would you like it if every picture of your children or cats or whatever it is that you're into is gone? All of your documents, gone. Are you ready to pay for ransomware? Can you? You start driving that home to them. You start making them think about how it can impact them personally. Start asking them, hey, how many here has had a relative or a friend or a loved one that's gotten that call from Microsoft that says, hey, your computer's got a virus, we're here to patch you, right? People understand that, and you say, hey, we're going to teach you to spot the other things too. Now all of a sudden they care. Now all of a sudden they're interested in doing this. And it makes a big difference in how people react to that, right? Again, need to take the correct estimation of who we're fighting here and how bad the problem is, because that has changed. Now, phishing people. This can be a lot of fun. Yeah, phishing part is awesome. What we found is at least once per month you want to phish your people. If you do it less than that, the return on investment kind of drops off. Preference for us is, or at least for me, is every 2 weeks. The idea behind phishing exercises is you do this. You train the people what to look for, which is essentially, you know, you show them all of these red flags or whatever it is you're going to do. And then what you do is you test them on it. I don't know about you guys. I learn best when I've done it. I can go in and I can read a book about something, but until I put my hands on it and actually done the exercises, I don't remember it as well. It doesn't sink in as well with me. Okay? So that's one of the two things that the phishing does. It lets them actually exercise what you've taught them in training. The second thing it does is it gives them a healthy dose of paranoia, rather. So most of the users They know that something's off on the email when it comes in. How many of you guys have had someone that's clicked on something and when you go to them and you go, why did you click on that? They go, I don't know, it felt kind of weird, right? But they do it anyways. You get that healthy dose of paranoia in them. So now when they get this, they go, I wonder if this is one of these emails that they're sending us from the IT department or the security guys are doing, right? They pay just a little bit more attention to those and action on them. Now, the other things we found is very important with this when you phish people is that you do full random phishing attacks. What does that mean? Random person at a random time with a random email. Because what happens otherwise, if you send the same email to everybody in the organization at the same time, what's going to happen is you're going to have kind of the meerkat effect, if you will. You're going to have Bob in accounting that spots this thing, and he's going to pop up and he's going to tell everyone, don't click on that Amazon one because that's one of those phishing attacks. That's one of those, the ones from the IT folks, right? So now what you've done a tremendous job of testing your cube-to-cube communication, but you've done nothing to help those other people be able to identify that phishing attack on their own, which is the point. You want each and every one of them to be able to do it. So now, if you randomize it, Bob's going to pop up, and Bob's going to say, don't click on that Amazon email. And they're like, shut up, Bob, there is no Amazon email. And eventually, they're going to get past that point of trying to do that. It doesn't work. Okay? The other thing is personalizing them. Now, this is where it gets to be fun. I don't recommend you do this out of the gate. I know you just signed up. Don't start off like this, okay? You don't want to start off by hitting them with the really hard stuff. You want to build their confidence a little bit, and then as they get better, then you make them tougher. And as they get better at spotting them, you make them tougher. Eventually, you're going to get to the point that you can get downright dastardly with some of these things. And people are not upset when they click on it. Once you've shown that you don't shame them when they do it, which is something that's very important, once you've shown them that, and once you've shown them, that they're getting better, it becomes it becomes a game. It becomes kind of fun. Who can spot what, Just putting their first name doesn't do it anymore. You want to make it enticing, like make them click within the first 60 minutes. Start throwing some other things in there. Throw in an attachment that's like Q3 layoffs or Q2 bonuses. That's even low-hanging fruit. You want to start getting a little bit more fun. You put something in there with their boss's name. You say, hey, Phil. Your boss's name, say Bob, said you can take a look at this invoice for me. Take a peek at it. Let me know what you think. If it doesn't display right, be sure to enable macros. Okay? Dude, every time, unless they're good at spotting these things, right? You can get downright dastardly. I'll give you what they did to me. So I'd been on board about 60 days, about 2 months. Was minding my own business, was in the airport, getting ready to head out. At the time, I reported to Stu Showerman, our CEO. And I get this email on my phone in the airport, and it says, hey, Eric, I need to talk to you about some of the things that I've heard about your presentations. And I was like, oh, crap, I do dog memes in a lot of them, and, some of them are a little loosey-goosey depending on where I'm at. And it was a Google Calendar invite for the following Thursday. And sure enough, I hit accept, and they rickrolled me, those buggers, okay? It's one of our landing pages. You can rickroll people. But that was dastardly. On your phone, it's so much harder to tell. And even if you want to try to hover something, you have to press and hold, and you're about a bump away from disaster if it's not real. So I had to learn the hard way. Don't mess with things on your phone. I just don't do it anymore. But again, you can start having a lot of fun with this. Or you sign them up for the cat quote of the day email and make the unsubscribe link the phishing link. And there's lots of fun ways you can do this. But anyways, enough of that. The other piece to this is giving them a way to report the attacks. Now, an email address they send it to is okay. But what usually happens with that is they forward the email losing all of the header information that you might need if you really need to look into that thing, right? So there's a couple of these out here. This is our free tool. You don't have to be a customer or anything. That's why I love this tool so much. We have a lot of free tools. This is called the Phish Alert button. Basically, if somebody gets an email, they think it's a phishing email, all they have to do is click that button. It's going to wrap it up with everything you need. It's going to send it to someone in your organization to take a look at. It gets it out of their inbox so they don't go back later going, I wonder if that really is a free pizza from Pizza Hut, right? It's a great tool for that, and I was absolutely thrilled when Verizon came out. This is what they said: train your employees with regards to phishing. Provide them a quick and easy way to report suspicious emails. This is how you do it. If you do an email address, again, the things that happen is people forget. What email address do I send that to? They have to go back. They have to look at the book or look up the email. Then it's not a reflexive behavior. Give them an easy way to do it, and boom, it's out of their inbox. The last thing is, don't be a jerk. We have to start changing some of the ways that historically IT in general and security has treated the users. A lot of times we don't send a nice warm fuzzy feeling to them, and they don't like to engage with us, right? One of the things that we need to think about is when you do awareness training, this may be the only chance you get all year to reach every single one of your employees. In most organizations, you have your trouble children or the people that you work with most of the time, but you may not even deal with 75% of the people that work there on a regular basis. Okay? So what are they going to remember about you? They're going to remember the times that you have that interaction. And if it's your awareness program that's doing it, we need to think about how we're putting that forward, right? We need it to be positive. We need to have it be uplifting. That's the visible face of the department. And where this really becomes important is when Bob does click that thing and then clicks it and clicks it and clicks it because it didn't do anything the first 4 or 5 times, right? And then all of a sudden his machine slows down to the point he can't use it barely. Do you want Bob flipping the lid of his laptop shut and going home while your network burns? Or do you want him feeling comfortable to call you and go, I know I screwed up, but we need to do something about this? You want the call. You don't want them walking away while your network's on fire. Far too often, they're afraid to talk to us. They're intimidated by us or whatever. We got to breach that. We got to make sure that they understand that, please, if you screw up, and people will screw up, call us. Let us know. We'd like that. So I'm going to tell you, this is kind of the 4 steps to success. If you run an awareness program, I don't care if you do it through us, through whoever, you do it yourself, it doesn't really matter. There are 4 steps that we found work really, really well. First of all, baseline test, understand where you're coming from. Try to send them a phishing email, probably one that they don't necessarily know they get phished. We can do this for you free. Again, you don't have to be a customer. I like to use like the 404 landing page on this. It just looks like it's a 404. When they click on it, they think, oh, the link's broken. Okay, no big deal. This gives you an idea where you're at, and I'll tell you why that matters in a second. Then you train your users. Train them to spot, like we concentrate on red flags. Basically, did I get an email at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday from my HR department, and is that unusual? Maybe I ought to take more, pay more attention to this. Okay, pretty simple. But you teach them that, you teach them your password hygiene, all that kind of good stuff. And then you start the phishing piece. Now, this is where that baseline comes in. If it's your first time around, you don't want to send people something that's really tough. They'll get frustrated. They'll go, I can never do this. I just give up. I quit. On the flip side, if you have people that are really good at spotting these already, say you're already in the teens for your phish-prone percentage, you don't want to send them the ones that are stupid, full of errors and grammar errors and spelling errors, because then you're just wasting their time. They feel like you're wasting their time, and you're not doing anything with it, right? So you want to know kind of where you're at and then tailor your phishing to that level of people, okay? And then you measure the results. And again, as it starts going down, you make it tougher, and you let them know. You tell them, hey, you guys have done such a great job on these last phishing tests. We're going to have to make it a little bit harder. We're going to have to step it up a little bit. Gamify some things too. Lowest phishing rate for the quarter gets a pizza party or something like that. If you can't find budget for a pizza party for a small department, you've got other issues. But make it kind of fun. Make it entertaining. Make it a game. Make it something they can do. Okay? Don't shame them though. Don't shame the people that screw up, and people will screw up. If it's a recurring thing where somebody is screwing up over and over again, like Bob in accounting all the time, right? If he's screwing up over and over again, you need to take it through the HR chain or the manager chain, up through the HR chain, et cetera, while concentrating on the fact that they are causing you a risk to your organization. Because ultimately, that's what it is. You concentrate on the risk. It's just like somebody browsing porn sites all the time. If they're doing that, you're risking your organization. If you're not paying attention and you're clicking on these phishing links over and over again, you're doing the same thing. You're putting the organization at risk. You need to focus on that, though, when it comes to that piece of it. Now, so many times we've heard that you can't patch users. I've said it in the past, and I was very, very wrong about that. Okay? I'm going to share this with you because I think it's important that we understand this can be an incredibly effective way to do things. This is 6 million users and 11,000 organizations, right? So small sample size. That was sarcasm if you missed it. 27% average click rate. And I hear this over and over again when I'm out with people, right? Kind of lines up with, with what I hear all the time. So initial click rate, 27%. That means 1 in 4 phishing emails, they're clicking on the links in them, folks. That's pretty scary stuff right there. 3 months later, by training them, this is basically doing the training cycle. Teaching them what to look for, explaining to them how to spot these things, down to 13%. That's reducing the risk in that by half. By continuing that phishing piece, and you can kind of see where it's bumping there. People are starting to kick it off a little bit, make it a little tougher. It'll go up, it'll level, it'll do that. At the end of a year, down to 2%, 2.17% as a whole. Same 6 million users and 11,000 organizations. Putting a little bit of effort into your awareness program, again, whether you use our platform or not, our platform makes it easier. But we need to continue to look at the people and train the people and put the effort into this, because the return on this, there are very few things you can do, technical or not, that are going to give you a return like this when it comes to phishing issues. And that is a huge issue that we have. So don't forget when you're doing your security program to include your users as part of it. The other thing that Phish Alert button does that's absolutely fantastic, or any kind of reporting mechanism, if you get 4 or 5 reports of phishing emails, say within an hour or something like that, it's very easy to start spotting the trend. You know you're a target of a phishing campaign at that point. You can block it at your email servers. You can email your folks in the organization. We do this all the time. And say, watch out for these. Just delete them if you get them. It's going back to being canary in the coal mine here. Your users can be a sensor and a reporting mechanism for you as well. So don't forget them when you're building out your security program. So that being said, that's all for me. I think I'm between us and going home. So thank you very much. I'm open. Any questions, first of all? Anyone? Yeah.
You had a slide at the beginning that was like 54% of users click on phishing links.
Yes, within the first hour.
Yeah. Do you have another statistic of how many enter credentials?
You know what? We haven't broken that down like that.
That'd be interesting.
It's something. Those are actually very effective too. We have some landing pages where you can send somebody in and enter credentials. We don't collect the credentials, but we do note that they enter them. They are very effective when people do that, because they forget to look up at the bar there. But unfortunately, we don't have that stat broken out. That's a good idea, though. I'd like to see that myself.
Yeah, because I don't care if they click the link, they click it all day, put their credentials in.
Well, that's only for a credential phish, though. You know,
Are you talking about malware?
yeah, we're talking malware too. Anything. You know, you don't want them clicking those links. You want them hovering the link and not screwing around and clicking them. Because I don't care what controls you have in place, you're liable to have some sneak through. So, sir? Oh.
You had noted about random phishing of all people. Is there a timeline that you should fish basically all your folks randomly?
So the way that I like to set it up, our platform, what we do in there is typically I'll do like have a campaign kick off every 2 weeks and spread the phishing emails across 5 business days. So that way they're always kind of trickling through to somebody in the organization, but that's what I like to do with that. So.
Comment, just to share. We've not had a lot of success, or not really come up with a good way to gamify the back end as far as the phishing test. One thing that was very effective in our organization is I really like getting those headers and seeing those trends on the reports.
Right.
We didn't have a high rate of reporting, So once a month, we're going to wait to randomize. We draw 2 out of that reporting pool,
Okay.
and we reward those people who get started. Like if it's spam or something in the reporting, we'll be building that and do another draw. So basically, 2 of them get that. It like quadruple the amount coming in. It looks more junk because we told specifically if you report spam,
Right.
it's going to start it. It needs to look like a fiction does.
So what he's saying here is that basically they've gamified the reporting process, sort of. What they're going to do is when people report phishing emails, they exclude anyone that reports spam because we're trying to get the difference between spam and that out, right? But they'll pick a couple of people in there and then give them a gift card for those that are reporting those things because the reporting can be pretty powerful. So thank you. I like that approach. I really do. So, all right. Well, that being done, I think everyone here is ready for something else, so I will let us do it.
Eric, we appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
Much.